Recently announced that you're running in District 20 against Debbie Wasserman-Schultz. First, tell us a little about yourself and tell us why you're running against her specifically.
Well, I'm running against Debbie Wasserman-Schultz because I feel there's a great disconnect between the American people, we the people, and our representatives in Washington. I feel that we're not being represented. I feel that we're not being listened to, and I thought I could do a better job of connecting us to our representatives.
Now, obviously, you're running as a transgender candidate.
Actually, I'm not running as a transgender candidate. I'm an American. I'm running as Donna Milo. I am a candidate that has conservative American values. I feel that I bring something to the table. Certainly being transgendered is an element of my life, but it doesn't define who I am, what my political views, my values, or my ideals are. And I hope that as people get to know what those values and those ideals are, they'll realize that supporting me because of my values and ideals and not supporting me because of any label that I might carry in front of my name.
Now you're from Cuba or you're from Cuban descent?
I was born in Pinar del Rio, Cuba. I came to the United States. We left Cuba when I was 3 years old and came to the United States in the early 1960s, as many other Cubans in this community. And having fled a country that we lost to socialism, certainly I can say that there are some parallels that are happening in our country that we would like to stop, and we would like to reconnect our constitutional values with our government.
On that note, being that you are Hispanic, how do you feel about the Arizona immigration law, a law that just passed, and do you think it should be a law like that should be enforced here in Florida?
Well, I think this is a country of laws. I think that we need, before we contemplate the position of that particular law, I think we have to reinforce our borders in this country. I think we have to enforce the federal laws that are existing, and then we have to analyze whether any new laws are necessary.
Now, in lieu of the recent oil spill in the Gulf of Mexico, do you think it's still safe to drill offshore, in Florida here especially?
Well, absolutely. I think that this is a prime example of what we've done. Everybody has this notion of not in my backyard. You don't want to see an oil rig offshore. We're pushing oil exploration further away from shore into deeper waters. If this rig would have been in near-shore waters, in depths of a few hundred feet or less than 100 feet, divers could have gone down and capped it shut, but instead it's in 5,000 feet where no human being can reach. So absolutely, we need to exploit our onshore and nearshore resources while we improve our deep water resources.
Now I want to speak to you about Israel. Recently, President Obama has really dropped the ball with his dealing with Israel, especially Prime Minister Netanyahu. And it seems as Debbie Wasserman-Schultz, who's the congresswoman you're running up against, has been running cover for him, and she hasn't really defended or haven't stated a strong position whether she supports the Obama administration's stance with Israel or not. Can you elaborate more on that?
Certainly. When you have no action on something, that's an action. It's the action of not acting. And certainly by not speaking out against the actions of this administration stalling, the government of Ahmadinejad is looking for nuclear weapons. They have, and just today and yesterday, he's been here in the United States at the United Nations speaking about Israel's right not to exist, and about, this is a person that's clearly anti-Israel. And I think that it's we have to take a clear position to support our ally in the Middle East. We have to support Israel. And the fact that this administration has been lax on a clear, defined policy, and she supports this administration. My opponent, Debbie Wasserman-Schultz, supports this administration blindly and at every opportunity. I think that's an action directly against Israel.
So in other words, what you're saying is that pretty much the Obama administration shows just reckless ignorance about the situation with Israel, and Debbie Wasserman-Schultz has been running cover for him.
Well, I don't know if it's an intentional act, but certainly it's an act that's happening by design. If you support an administration blindly, and you are not aware of what's happening in your foreign policy or in your district for that matter, you're losing touch with your constituency. I think we've seen that, especially within the last couple of years, where our representatives have lost complete touch with their constituents. They're not being heard, they're not being listened to, they're not being consulted before they pass legislation. And certainly this is one of the prime reasons why I'm running, because of that lack of connection that exists between our representatives and we the people.
So what do you think the overall, how do you think the Obama administration and W. Wasserman-Schultz, the Congress as a whole, how do you think they've done so far the past couple of years since he's been in office?
Well, I think that the runaway spending, the runaway expansion of government, the passing of the most unpopular piece of legislation probably in recent times, or at least since I've had political awareness, is a clear sign of the disconnect and of the poor job that they're doing. I think you're seeing it evidenced in the Tea Party movement. You know, I've been in this country for 45 years or 46 years, and there was never a Tea Party movement. That's indicative of the desperation that we the people are feeling with the disconnect that exists. So certainly the job they're doing, F. That's the grade, F.